Hello and welcome to Dancer Support Mission by Sabine for Shine Your Light. We have a new episode of Dancer to Dancer, Words of Wisdom. And I created this platform to meet the person behind the dancer and share with you all not only the highlights of someone's career, but also the challenges behind the scenes. Truly, my wish is to bring healing into the dance world, dancing to heal, healing to dance, one artist at a time, and one personal story at a time. I do believe that storytelling gives us an opportunity to learn from another person's experience, and it can shape, strengthen, or challenge our opinions and values. Hopefully, this will allow you to embark or reflect on your own personal healing journey, inspired by others' experiences. And if you find those interviews valuable and interesting, please share them with your friends. And don't forget to send me some feedback. So today I'm delighted to welcome Lénaïg Guégan. Lénaïg, thank you so much for taking the time in your very busy schedule to spend this hour with me.
Pleasure. Thank you for inviting me.
So Lénaïg, we met a long time ago in the Dutch National Ballet, right? You didn't stay very long with us. It was short and brief. Which year was that?
It was in 1999, I guess.
Okay, so just before 2000.
I stayed 6 months, I think. That was the...
You were that very precious ballerina, coming and going, basically, for me. In my, in the way I saw it, I experienced it. So, but I know you had an amazing and beautiful career, so we're going to talk about it. So welcome on this show. And we're going to start like I always start. I would like to know, how you started to dance, why you started to dance, and when you decided that this would be, your profession, because there's a big turning point usually for that.
Yeah, I was about 6. My best friend at the time was taking class. She was dancing for 2 years already. And it was the last day, the last class of the year before the summer break. So I was allowed to go. And I went with her, and it was with Madame Gardel Dubois. She was an ex-dancer from Paris Opera. And I saw all those girls wearing point shoes already. And
at 6?
Yeah, no comment. Another era. But I just loved the... I didn't know any steps. I couldn't do nothing. I was like so lost. But I loved the idea of moving with elegance, graciously. That was really something for me. And then my parents moved to Brittany. And in Brittany, I begged my mom to find a school. So she found a very small school. We lived in a really small village. And it was run by Monsieur Bazin, who was also from Paris Opera. And I took my first class with him. And at the end of the class, he said to my mom, "I'm sorry, I'm not going to keep her." And I was like so stressed out. I was like, "Oh my God, that's, of course, I don't know nothing." I was lost. And he said, "No, it would be a waste. She's talented. She needs to go to the Conservatoire of Lorient, which was a city that was 3 hours drive, really far."
Wow.
And I was like, so, I mean, for a little girl to have that attention, even though I didn't know what was talent, I was like so... And of course, I wanted to carry on and to go to Lorient. And so I asked my parents to drive me. And I did that for a few years. I was happy. Everything was going well. And then my parents moved back to Paris. And I was 12. And that was the real shock. I arrived to Paris and I realized that the girls were dancing every day and were like had a lot of technique. I was like really under, like I was. I had no technique.
Countryside ballerina.
Yeah, countryside, exactly. There was such a difference between the standard and the, so I decided I wanted to really work really hard, and I did. I worked like crazy, and I got into the Paris Conservatoire. I stayed 2 years, and then Claude Bessy, she organized a big audition. It was kind of an extraordinary audition. She didn't do that every year, but she needed students, and I got in, and I got in the second division, Paris Opera, and then I went into the last division, and I had the chance to work with Christiane Bossard, who is now
Legend
teacher, and yeah, that was my path. It just
so how was it for you to be in Paris Opera? Because not everybody has great memories of that. Some people lived it super well, but some others, you know.
It was hard. It was hard because I came late in the school, so I arrived, and a little bit like I didn't have maybe the inside customs, you know.
Maybe it's better, no? You came out fresh, you know, and
I came out, yeah, fresh, but
with your mind still yours.
yeah, but I had to get into that mold. I had to, and the girls were not so. At the beginning, they were not so happy that I came from the outside. So I had a hard time to find my way. But it was
So, so then did you join Paris Opera after that?
So I wasn't entitled to get to take the exam to get into the company. I had to take the external. You know, there's 2 ways to get in. The external exam is like it's very hard, basically, because you have like all people coming from all over the world, and but you have the girls that have extra contracts that are in the company but don't have like the full life contract.
Surnuméraire.
And that surnuméraire, yeah, and they also take the exam and the concours, and usually after three contracts they need to get in. So, I mean, it's really hard. I thought it was like better to go audition somewhere else. So I went to the English National Ballet. I sent my staff to English National Ballet. It was Derek Dean that was the director at the time. And he immediately sent me, invited me for an audition, a private audition. And I was still in the Paris Opera School. So I went there, and he hired me. And then I didn't take the external concours.
Okay, so you were quite an unusual, you know, case, because most people who finish Paris Opera School is first thing is Paris Opera and nothing else, right?
Yeah, I mean, that would have been a dream, obviously, but I knew that I couldn't take because I didn't go through the whole school, and I did only 2 years. I knew I couldn't take that exam, and I already had set my mind on a career abroad. I had that dream also. I remember I read in a magazine about Karina Verti, who went to San Francisco, and that inspired me. I wanted that also.
Okay, so you started pretty young, right? Because you just came out of the school.
I just turned 18, and I started in that big company at the time, and that was, yeah, the transition was from school to company was a bit of a shock. It was like,
Yeah, from boarding school to making your own path all by yourself. I mean, we all have to do that, but I know it's kind of a hard one. So how long did you stay with because I know you went through many companies, so that I know that I'm going to ask and then. So after that, what did you do?
no, so I stayed for 4 years. The director, Derek Dean, was really great for me. He was really, he took me under his wings, and he gave me a lot of opportunities. But he also treated me like a baby when we came out from the school. And he would stand in the wings, like giving me corrections while I was dancing. He would like while when the curtain came down, he would like make me walk on staff again, and he was really hard with me.
Mhm.
And I guess that's because he had some interest in me. But after 4 years, I really felt that I needed to go in a place where they didn't see me as a student anymore, and where I could bloom and
That's the way they do in Russia. I mean, they did. I don't know anymore how it is, but I mean, 20 years ago, the principal dancer would finish on cue and then they would rehearse on stage what didn't go, immediately. It's a different mindset, right? And I think it's smothering, but it's also very caring in a way,
caring. But I was the only one.
Okay.
He wouldn't do that with others, and he was hard. I mean, he had his temperament. I mean, it was great. I had a lot of, and especially this company is a great company to start with, because there's a lot of performances. You get to go on stage a lot. You get to cover people, and so you dance a lot. So that was amazing. But I heard that Menagil Good was taking over the direction of Royal Danish,
Mhm.
and there was an audition. I wanted to go. I went, and she hired me. So that's how it happened.
Okay, so Royal Danish, how long did you stay there?
Royal Danish, I stayed only 2 years. She left after 2 years. Actually, she brought foreigners with her, dancers from abroad. That was the beginning of the before the Royal Danish was very conservative,
Mhm.
and that didn't go well. So didn't go down so well.
Well, why? Tell us, because that's interesting, right? That's the meaty part for me because
Um, there's a big tradition of Bournonville there, and it was a process from the school,
yeah, it's like a different planet, right?
in planet, and there was this story that you had to be a child during the performance of Napoli, for instance. You had to be a child and had that experience of being on the bridge. That there was a bridge on the set of the Napoli, and watch, and then you would get the style, and it was something that you needed to have from kids. And for foreigners, when you arrived, you were not uh, necessarily you were not allowed to do it straight away. You had to. So we were put in a special room in the morning before company class, and we had Bournonville classes. That was interesting. It was
Yeah.
really interesting. But
To be open to the process, I suppose, right?
yeah, but it was to show that it was
You didn't belong.
yeah, that feeling of not belonging. And she actually didn't stay. She I think there was some problems. She tried to bring. She brought actually Suite en Blanc from Serge Liffard. That was a great. Claude Bessy came back to reset it, and she gave me Serenade. But that also was not really for the Danish dancer to have some repertoire that came from abroad. That was too much. She tried to do too much too quick, and so she had to leave. And then I left also. I felt I couldn't stay.
So I mean, you're pretty young, right? How was that for you to, decide, okay, I'm going to change my whole life again, and go to another country? Because it takes a lot of courage. I mean, I know for having done it, and many people actually never move their whole life because they cannot do that, right? So you have to have the spirit for that as well.
I kind of learned to enjoy that. I liked to go in a place where people had a fresh look on me, and I could start fresh. And with the experience that I gained, I could like start and I enjoyed meeting other vision of dance also, because that is something that was a big realization for me when I left the Paris Opera School. I went into the English National. There was a lot of guest artists and dancers coming from everywhere, and I realized that we had a very set way of thinking dance and working, and there was other ways of appreciating dance also. And that I enjoyed. And so I left the Royal Danish. I knew that when I left France, I knew that there was no point, unless you were. I was in Paris Opera. There was no point to really settle somewhere. My goal was to learn and to experience dance. I didn't really see I didn't want a career where I would settle down. For me, the only place I would have settled was Paris Opera, because you had this life contract and this path that the ranks and a little bit of hierarchy and history. But no, I didn't mind moving. So I left. I went to do a ballet competition in Mississippi. It was called at the time, what was it?
Was that Jackson?
Oh. Well, Jackson competition, yeah. And I met a lot of dancers from many countries and directors also. And from there, things, my path, things got into place. That's actually after that I went to the Dutch National. I went there, and I also had met Edouard Villela. I had possibility of having a soloist contract in Miami City Ballet in Miami. I took this contract in Dutch National, not knowing if I would have a visa to work in the.
Okay.
And also because I thought this company was amazing. But I also had a feeling that when I arrived, I had a feeling that it was a big company. There was a lot of great dancers, again, with different backgrounds and different schools. And I was under the impression that I was going to be. I was 22 at the time, and I felt I needed still to be guided and nurtured. I was under the impression that I was going to get lost in that company. And
you can. It's very easy to get lost,
And I could see dance like you and Gail. I remember I saw you one time. You were rehearsing by yourself some piece of.
Was it La Sylphide? Giselle.
No, it's a Dutch choreographer.
Oh, Hans van Manen. Yeah.
And you were both in the studio alone rehearsing, and I thought, wow, they're so autonomous. They're
Independent.
Independent, yeah.
Well, we had to, because very often we didn't have time to actually rehearse properly. So you had to make time for yourself, right?
Yeah, but and that's something I probably want to talk about, to explain also my path and the reason why I went from one place to the other, is that search of from in Paris Opera and in France, and my education, I was like always waiting for the okay from the teacher, and I was in this very I didn't speak English for a long time. Sorry.
Dis-moi en français, and I can translate, maybe.
Un rapport de soumission.
Yeah, you were. Oh, yeah, that's a hard one. Well, you wanted approval all the time, and you were under the spell of other people, basically.
Yeah, and that was the way we were raised. Also, it's the teacher knows, and there's such a weight of the history, and the ballerinas have done Giselle before, and amazing Noëlla Pontois, and you have that image, and you're like, okay, I need to have the permission to do it.
And you need a mentor, which we need mentors for sure. Yeah.
Mentor, but also to have the permission. And what I was looking for all my career is that independent state of mind. I wanted to find my own way. I wanted to get away from that
submission
of, yeah.
So did you find your inner authority, and did you give yourself permission at the end?
So I found that I went to so after Dutch I went to Miami City, and that was a dream for me to dance Balanchine, and I felt I could really express myself more into that style. And but we were taking classes with Edward Villela every morning, and it was a very stylized class. It was not what I was used to in Europe. It was not a class where you would warm up and go through technique, and it was like really fast, and we had that every day. So I learned a lot about the style, but also my body was kind of not finding
screaming.
So I started to have knee problems, tendinitis, and I met this great practitioner. He was a Feldenkraïs practitioner, and I took classes with him, and that was a big revelation. And he taught me to learn how to work, basically. He taught me to
walk or to work.
Walk.
Okay.
So I really rethought my way of working, and I realized I didn't actually know what I was doing. I realized I was just like trained, and I learned things by repetition and by doing and by watching, but I really, if I went deep inside, I didn't really know what was happening. And that was so fascinating for me to work that way with him. So I took Feldenkraïs lessons.
Was this a dancer doing Feldenkrais, or was it somebody?
it was a total outsider.
So could you explain to us, how did you learn, in which sense you learned something of how to walk again? Because I'm fascinated. I think it's interesting.
The Feldenkraïs is about discovering your own ways of doing things. So we're talking about movement, but it can also be thinking. I mean, and from what you do, doing what you want to do. And most of the time you learn by and in ballet, that's what you do a lot. You have an example, you have an image of perfection, and you go towards that perfection. And in Feldenkrais, you're asked to do things your own way, and you come. It's very well done. It's exercise that are not exercise actually, that are just explorations, but that there's no correct ways, and you don't know where you're going. So that's an opportunity to really get out of your habits and reset a little bit your ways.
Your responses, right? To whenever you demand something from yourself. But I'm curious there. I mean, how do you apply that to turnout, for example?
Turnout is just if you want to turn out. I mean, of course, we went through school, and we worked our bodies from such a young age that the hips are pretty much at ease in the turnout. But it's also getting to know how the what you do, where you put extra attention, do you have a clear image of what's happening really in your hips, in your back, everywhere, in your eyes. Everything is connected, and you suddenly you see the each movement as something global. And turnout can actually be something that you can walk from the back, from the turning out of
opening up.
The opening up. I mean, but it's different for each
it's
other.
A process, huh? Anyway, of course, it's an exploration that doesn't happen in one session. You have to. It's a different way of perceiving and approaching things.
Yeah, and most of all, you start with yourself, and that's the
always.
But that's the beginning of getting for me finding autonomy.
Yeah.
Because that was the big realization. I was like, yeah, if I don't know what I do, really, if I don't know where it comes from, I'm not going to be able to do what I want. And in that case, I was in the Miami City Ballet. In that case, it was moving in a different way, changing style, changing technique, coming out of my habits, and was like molded in a certain way, in a Paris Opera way. And moving differently, and that was the key for me.
So opening up to everything that life can offer to you, instead of being on a very set way with no fantasy, basically, right? I mean, I think imagination and fantasy play a big role in this as well.
Yeah, also.
So, but did that help you heal your injury? I mean, you said you had problems with your knees.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I was just doing some sometimes injuries are due to the misunderstanding of in that case it was the knee, what the action of the knee, what the alignment, and I was just doing things that were not right, but not aware of that, and doing it every day, of course you get injured. So
yeah, and as you say, it also comprised the mind as well, right? It's also, you're going to have to change your ways of thinking so that you can change your way of being and of acting as well, right? It all goes together.
exactly, yeah. And it's yeah, the mind also, the way you, that's when I realized I couldn't just wait for people to tell me who I was. I need I had to say it. I had to.
That's beautiful. Yeah, I couldn't wait for people to tell me who I am. That's a big one for dancers, indeed. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So then what happened? Because I know that you are a Feldenkrais practitioner, amongst other things. So um, let's go back to your career, and then we'll go to this. So what happened after Miami then?
So after Miami, so Feldenkrais was really the big, of course, Balanchine. I learned a lot, but the Feldenkrais was a really big eye opener, and that's when I thought, okay, I'm probably not going to stay too long in a place where we really do one style. I need to. I wanted to be able to dance, to go into different forms of dance and find my path. But I didn't want to again format myself into one way of moving. And Balanchine, if you really want to get the style, it's such a style, a special style. You really need to dance one way, and I was scared that I wouldn't be able to go back to other way of moving. Especially I was 24 at the time, and I still wanted to experience other stuff. So I went back to Europe, also to go back to classes that were more about building yourself, building the dancer, in order to go to different directions, but not so stylized. And so I went to Zurich. It was also more neoclassical.
That's Berlin. That's hard too. Hard rep.
Hard rep, yeah. It was interesting. I mean, he was hard, but it went well. He gave me some nice things to dance, and it was a good mix between really classics and Balanchine. It was neoclassical, and I got to experience different choreography and different way of. I discovered myself in different choreographies,
styles. So after Zurich, so how long did you stay in Zurich?
I stayed over 2 years, and that time I that time I moved. It was more related to a relationship. I was in a relationship, and Heinz Perry was very protective of his men, his boys.
Yeah.
I made the mistake of going out with one of his boys, so it became a problem after a while.
Mm-hmm.
And also I had it was time for me to move on.
So where did that lead you?
That led me, because I missed a little link, but that led me to I actually enrolled into the Feldenkrais.
Okay.
I started it. I didn't complete it, so 4 years training.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't complete it until I stopped dancing, really. But I really felt I needed to do that.
Mm-hmm.
I arrived at one point in my career where I felt I needed to find again a sense to what I was doing. I just needed some new inspiration and maybe to take a step back and to give a meaning to it all.
Okay.
So I did that, and that gave me some really some amazing.
Did you stop dancing to do that?
No, I kept taking class. I did that in Paris.
Mm-hmm.
I was taking class every day, but I wasn't in a company. I was just, and
that's also adventurous because people mostly think, oh, if I'm not in a company, you know, and then I won't, you know, I won't be able to join. I mean, I don't know. It's really hard to disconnect and then think that you're going to go back into the.
yeah, I was probably naive, but I never was scared of. I always trusted that my path would lead me to something interesting. I was not scared of.
And it did, so you were right.
Also because I knew the ballet, the world of dance is large. There's a lot of possibilities, so I wasn't scared of not being.
It's funny because mostly we say the ballet world is so small. That's why we know all each other, you know. And then you say, but the ballet world is so large. I like that.
It's small in the sense of the dancers can be very narrow-minded, and yes, it can be small in that way, but it's also big in the and I think dancers should know that it's big in
Opportunities.
in the opportunities and the ways of dancing. There's a lot of different ways to lead a career, to have a career.
Mm-hmm. So after that, so you did your year of Feldenkraïs, and then you thought, no, I want to dance again.
I knew that I wanted to keep dancing, but how? And that's when I knew that I didn't want to do ballet anymore, like strict ballet. At the time, I was almost 30 already, so I didn't see myself in those roles of young 13 girls, and I felt after having experienced the Feldenkrais training, where you are given a lot of opportunities to explore and to come out of restrictions, of constraints. You taste of that freedom of moving your own way, moving, exploring. And I didn't want to go back into that mold again.
And being a human being, right? Because for me, that was when I started the healing course. It was really the first year I was like, but what am I if I'm not a dancer, you know? It's like, I didn't know.
Yeah.
And it was like, I wanted to be free and I wanted to be a human and I wanted to be a woman.
Yeah, beautiful. Human is a good word. The Feldenkrais actually based his whole method on the fact of becoming more human. For him, it was not such the movement was interesting, but it was a door to step into that search of becoming more human. For him, it started by knowing yourself, and for him, if there was so many walls and so many problems, it was because people acted according to habits and were conditioned to act in a certain way, like to act in a certain way.
Well, we programmed. I mean, you know, it's a necessity, but it's also a necessity to review the program every once in a while, if not every day, because you know every day is different.
And like ballet dancer, programmed to dance in a certain way. It was the same. And for him, it was because we lacked of discernment, the capacity of making differences, differentiations. Things were not black and white. We trying and more
and allowing ourselves to make different choices,
choices, but knowing who we were, coming from us. For him, it was hard not to know yourself and to realize things in life. Yeah, like not knowing your whole machine, your
tool. I mean, because the body is a tool. I mean, it's a house, but it's also a tool. So, so where are we? We were.
So I didn't want to go back into strict classic ballet. So I went, while I was still training, I went to visit a friend, Hervé, in les Grands Ballets Canadiens. I saw some performances and I talked a lot with him. He was so happy there. He was really blooming, and I took class with the company, and the director at the time, Vladimir Pankov, he asked me if I wanted to join the company, and I was really excited about that. But I told him yes, but if I come, it's because I want to do some contemporary. You have a great rep, and I want to dance contemporary stuff. And he said, "Well, you're good in tutu. You're a good ballet dancer. You're beautiful ballerina. I need a good ballerina, so I will take you to do the Nutcracker." And so I was like, "Okay, well, okay." Thinking, but I'll still do the contemporary stuff, and I will convince you that I will be able to do the contemporary stuff.
I was not knowing Vladimir really well.
I didn't know him, and I didn't realize that he actually told me what was going to happen. He told me, "Okay, so if I hire you, you come as a ballerina." And I thought, okay, that's my chance. He likes me as a ballerina. So that's my opportunity to get into that contemporary company. That's fantastic. And I joined, and I of course did a lot of ballet in tutu. It was fun, but not exactly what I wanted to do. And but also I had some opportunity to learn and to dance other styles and more contemporary style with Naharin and some
yeah, they had such an amazing rep. I mean, they changed again to classical now, but it's true that, I mean, they do everything, but they want to be more classical based, but the repertoire was quite amazing that they had.
And the dances were really inspiring. Also, I thought everyone has a
personality.
Yeah, and that was very different from a ballet company where everybody has to look the same pretty much.
Well, and that's what we had in the Dutch National in the old days. It was a very eclectic company. They were really big personalities because they were still from the time of Rudy van Danzig, And then, I mean, now it changed because it's much more stereotyped because everybody wants the same thing. They want to do the same repertoire and they want to have the same dancers. It's, not many people take risk in personality and really seeing someone interesting but different,
Especially because at the Dutch, they still have a great classical repertoire.
Yeah.
It's hard to put on a corps de ballet with such...
Well, we did. And yeah, and I think that's what was so amazing about this company, actually. That's what I really loved about it. You had like those I don't want to say weirdos because we were all weirdos, you know, really strong people and going in, I mean, very different style, very different personalities, very different characters, and you know.
School and background, but great dancers. Yeah, really.
Yeah, I know you like the structure of the of the Paris Opera line, right? Because this is where you come from.
So yeah, well, a long time ago.
So so you stayed. How long did you stay in Montreal?
3 years. And after 3 years, I decided that I wasn't doing enough contemporary. Actually, Gradimir really wanted to see me in class in point shoes, and it was hard. Yeah, it was hard for me to learn how to be more grounded and to let the weight down and in point shoes all the time. So I would come with my tutu and my point shoes, and in the rehearsal where everybody was rehearsing or had Naharin, I had to like take out my point shoes and go into another mood.
Style, yeah, mood, yeah.
Yeah, so that was tough, and he didn't help me much to really make that
to adapt
and to learn because that's what I wanted to do, to learn. And so it was also a time where I wanted to be close to my family, to come back to my family. My grandparents were sick, and so I went back to France, and I danced with I joined the Preljocaj.
Okay.
Yeah, so that was my little revenge. I'm doing some contemporary stuff. I danced in the Preljocaj Sacre du Printemps, which was kind of really a lot of floor work and really intense. So that was a challenge.
And so, did you finish your career there as a dancer?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I was with the Sacre du Printemps, actually.
Yeah. Okay, so when did you do Gyrotonic, actually? Because I know you're also a Gyrotonic practitioner, which is amazing when you teach dancers.
Yeah, I took a training while I was in Montreal. So I did that also. Yeah.
Okay, so tell us now a little bit about your project that you have now, because I think it's a very beautiful project.
Yeah, so my project is I started to teach first before I opened my own school. But before that, I started to teach young kids who wanted to get into the Paris Opera School. I was in charge of the class. There were between 10 and 12. And I didn't expect teaching young kids like that, but it was really interesting for me it was a way for me to go back and to kind of erase all the things I thought were mistakes in my training, and to heal also some things. And I wanted to do it a different way. I wanted to teach students in a more. I wanted to give them tools to be more independent and to understand what they were doing and to own their training. So I put in a lot of Feldenkraïs touch.
Yeah.
Even though I wasn't doing that in a kind of traditional school, so I couldn't do so much of that. But I was that really inspired me a lot. And then I took my CA. It's a certificate d'aptitude. It's one of the highest teaching degree in France. And I decided after that, once I got that in my pocket, I decided to open my own school and to really do what I wanted to do without
obstacles, because it's your own school.
Yeah, and that's what I'm doing. So yeah, I teach a little bit of Feldenkraïs to my students. I teach placement of the body with the Feldenkraïs method, which is very, it works.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, lucky kids, you know, because it's something they'll have in their pocket for the rest of their lives.
Yeah, yeah. Really to learn how to use properly your body straight away, and to feel, they learn not by copying and imitating, but really they feel, so they do with their own potential.
Mm-hmm.
So,
so how was, you know, those two, because did you open during COVID? Because I mean, you know,
yeah, I mean, the project was I worked on the project 3 years before, so of course, because I have a place, and it happened that I opened during the COVID, which was actually a good time for me to open, because for the pre-professional trainings we were allowed to teach. It was considered as not the first
confinement, yeah.
confinement. We were all at home, but the second one, and that whole period of time I could teach, it was considered as education.
Mm-hmm.
So I had a lot of students coming to my place, students from different schools, Paris Opera School, coming to my place to have private lessons, or lessons in small groups. And I organized a lot of stage, also intensive applications, and with that spirit of small groups, and at home. My place is called Dance Loft is Neuf. It's a loft at home, and the kids couldn't go out to get their sandwich. Or everything was closed. So I had a little buffet, bio buffet. I prepared some food, and we were eating. It was really like convivial.
Yeah. So in the but you just had a baby, right? Also.
I had a baby at that time. Yeah.
You like to multitask, don't you?
Just happened. Yeah. I opened my school, and I just had a baby. Well, not just during my pregnancy. I was still pregnant when I opened.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had my baby, and then I went back to the studio a week later. And yeah.
Wow.
I don't know if I would recommend that.
No, I wouldn't recommend that, but I mean, I admire that.
No comment. That was my.
So, wow, that's, yeah. So it's a beautiful project, and I will put your website on the description below. So if people are interested, I mean, I know we're doing it in English, but you never know, somebody who is English speaking and want to find a very good school in Paris, you know, that would be a great idea. And what would you say? What would you say was the most challenging thing in your whole career?
I would say it's to not aim to be perfect, and to impose my own way. It's I mean, we discussed that before, but it's again about not waiting for people to tell me who I was. And that's exactly what Grasimir did. And
and Géraldine, obviously, and you know, probably what's his name in Zurich as well. So I mean,
putting me in a box where it was hard for me to get out. So that was my challenge, but also my
learning curve, it seems.
Yeah, and my drive, my what if now today I could make a sense of my path, and the different places where I've been and where I've danced, I guess that would be the thread through,
Yeah,
is finding that independency. That,
Well, your sovereignty as a human being, the inner sovereignty. I like that word. It feels good.
and maybe getting to know myself, because that's it. That's we discover that we don't.
I think that's personally, I think that's the only very fascinating thing in life is to know yourself. And you can know yourself through so many, I mean, through dance, through other jobs, through, your hobbies, through what you like to read, what you like to listen. I mean, everything is a way for me to know yourself.
Mm-hmm. But the great paradox in dance, I find, is that you're walking toward you're molding yourself into an image, and then you need to find yourself,
Step out of it.
step out of it, and or inside that image you need to find yourself. And at the beginning it's not that obvious, because you train so hard, and you're really like focusing on that image.
Yeah, it's true. It's a very good point. I mean, I've been always so stubborn and so, in a way, very self-determined and doing my own thing. But I can definitely see what you say, because it's very insidious. Even sometimes when you think you're doing what you want, you're still completely programmed and stuck in your own ways that you think are yours, but they're not. So it's interesting. Do you have would you have done anything different if with what you know now? Is there anything that you would have done different? I'm not saying regrets, because I don't believe really in regrets, but looking back at your career, is there anything that you think, oh, I should have done that this way?
Yeah, of course, many things. When you have the wisdom, it's easier. I, I guess I think I would, if I had an advice to give to the small person I was at the time, I would say be more patient. I think I lacked patience at certain point in my career. Patience in more just like trusting, also giving myself time. Yeah, as I said at the beginning of the interview, I had to work really hard to go to
Catch up.
catch up. Yeah, to catch up. And I always had this thing of I need to be quick. I need to like, and the career is short, and you need to work and not waste time. And in the end, certain things take time. Also to mature, to integrate. The body needs time, and to learn, you need time. Things that you understand in your mind it needs time. And sometimes I didn't give myself enough time. I wasn't patient enough with myself.
Yeah,
So
that's beautiful. You kind of robbing my last question from me, which was, if you had one advice to give to a young dancer that starts their career, what would that be? Do you have another one? Because I think this one is very beautiful and it's very needed.
That would be one, because the great paradox is that yes, it's a small career, but it's a long career at the same time. It's long to stay to still have passion, and to still stay in that research, in that
Stay curious, stay open. Yeah.
And for that, it's long. It can be long. You need to feel the interest. You need to stay interested. And yeah, being patient is a good advice. But I will find another one.
But it's it's a very big challenge for dancers to be patient. So I think this is such a very good one, It's like and very few people say that, so I really like that. So tell me another one. I want another good one.
But I talked about that. a lot during this interview. It's about this thrive for perfection. I would say really don't aim to be perfect. Just perfection is also something. If I had to do some things differently, I would like drop out a little bit the aim of perfection, because perfection doesn't allow us to congratulate us. Sometimes we focus so much on the negativity. It's not good enough. It could have been better. It should be better. And I think it's probably related to patience also. Patience to, yes, it's good today. I can see the positive side and say it was good and I'm satisfied. Tomorrow will be better. And so this thing about perfection is also stopping us, I think, to be ourselves, to do it our own way. Yeah. So that's again,
yeah, and because also what is perfection really, and it's such a big subject, huh? This is
you will never attain, yeah, basically. So it can,
and also because of what you have in your mind. You know, sometimes you have such a great performance and then you watch yourself and you're like, oh, horrible. And then sometimes you have a bad performance, you have such a bad feeling, and you look at it and you go, oh, it's not that bad actually. It also depends of what the expectation you have in your mind as well, you know. And this is it's so subtle, and it's so you can't quantify it, and that's the problem, right? You have to, this is why you come back to discernment. You have to really feel into it, and from that place it's a complete different compass than what you have in your brain. And yeah, it's really, I don't know who said that, but you know, the longest trip is from your brain to your heart, really, the longest and hardest.
Yeah, you need to be brave, really brave. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, Lénaïg, thank you so much for that beautiful moment spent with you. I really enjoyed listening to you and all your wisdom, you know, and I like your quietness. There's something very quiet and peaceful about you. I mean, even if it's not the case inside, this is what you portray. So thank you very much.
Okay, you're teaching me something about me. Thank you.
Well, I'm being a mirror.
Thank you, Sabine, for inviting me. I really like your channel and what you're doing. I think it's very valuable for all dancers. So thanks.